Criminal profiling is an integral part of police investigation. This is a process whereby the police use the nature of the crime to make reference to the personality and the characteristics of the offender. Hello and welcome to 7 Legal. I am Olachi Anyekwa. But before we continue on the show, let's go on a commercial break. We'll be right back.
For advert placement, you can call the number on your screen.
And you can visit our website at www.7fm.tv.
7TV Nigeria.
7TV, it's all about you. Welcome to 7 Legal. This is Olachi Anyekwa. I am super excited to welcome you to this episode of 7 Legal. Today we'll be talking about criminal profiling, and my guest to discuss this on the show is Barrister Prince Amechi.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah.
So, 2020, there was an agitation by the youths which resulted to an end-SARS protest. And one of the things they were talking about then is wrongful profiling of the police and police brutality. Can you please lay a foundation as a lawyer? What is criminal profiling, and how is it a legal way of investigation?
Yeah, criminal profiling is an investigation strategy that security operatives employ basically when they don't have a particular suspect at hand for a crime. They profile a group of persons who may fall under a category, who definitely, if you look at their background, their behavior, their personality, one of them or the people that they are profiling can possibly be one of the suspects. So it more or less is an underground check, an underground investigation on the character traits, personality of the people of the suspect, who would be likely suspects. And once that is done, and they're able to produce any evidence or get any lead as to one of them being involved in the particular crime or probably similar crimes, they can then either invite the person for questioning or they will arrest the person outrightly for further investigation.
It's a strategy.
Yes, it's a strategy they use to get probably information and then do an underground check.
So that doesn't warrant for arrest. It doesn't warrant you go about arresting people. It's just a strategy to get who and who can likely be involved in a particular crime or something like that.
Exactly. Ordinarily, it should be like a secret operation. It shouldn't be you arrest someone, then you start profiling them.
Okay, so when does profiling get leave from suspecting a candidate to arresting that candidate or that suspect?
When you're profiling someone, to a large extent, it may not be one person. You may have probably up to 4 or 5 persons that you suspect for a particular crime. You may profile all of them. But it is when you get a lead or a connection to one particular person, to a group of persons, that then you would invite them for an investigation.
Arrest. Yes. So you say the Nigerian police have been acting unlawfully by arresting a lot of people when there's a criminal investigation or something that happened in the nation. So you see them arresting a lot of youths who probably looked like what they were looking for. Are they supposed to arrest them for looking like what they are looking for? Or when they found out that these people are supposed to be in this act or committed the act, that's when they can be able to arrest them?
You wouldn't say that. You know, the Police Act 2020, it gives the police officers wide powers to invite, to investigate, to arrest, amongst other powers. So when the police suspects that a crime has been committed, the police has the power to invite anybody they suspect or arrest such a person. But there are also laid down guidelines that should be followed. in the case of arrest. So, but ordinarily, it shouldn't be so that you go and arrest people massively, then you start conducting profiling. It should be you doing your underground profiling, and when you have established that this particular person can or would be involved or could have been involved in such crimes, then you would invite or arrest
You
the
talked
person.
about the guideline for arrest. Can you educate us more on that?
When you're making arrests, as the Police Act makes copious provisions for arrest, and this includes situations where a private person can arrest, a police officer can arrest with or without warrant. There are situations that will warrant, that will call for arrest with warrant. There are also situations that will call for arrest without warrant, as provided, I think, between from section 31 to about section 70 of the Police Act. It lays down these guidelines, particularly when a crime is committed in the presence of a police officer or even a private citizen. The person has the right, the person has been empowered by the act to make an arrest, to arrest the suspect, and then hand it over to police. Or if he's a police officer arresting such a person, then they can take the person to station for further investigation. Also, there are situations where you ordinarily suspect that someone has committed an offense. It was not committed in your presence. You may need a warrant to go and arrest such a person.
When it comes to arrest, are there times that is it lawful that when a policeman arrests to start beating up this person? Is it lawful for police people when they make an arrest, even when there's no resist in the arrest, to start torturing or beating up the person when the person has not been found guilty of a particular act?
That is totally unacceptable by our laws. The Constitution specifically provides for dignity of human person. So that particular section, I think that's section 34 of the Constitution, prohibits such acts. Also the Police Act specifically, I think under section 34, also specifically prohibits on inhuman treatment, beating, harassment, anything that is not in line with policing guidelines is prohibited by the act. So it's not in any way allowed, it's not in any way to be encouraged. Once a suspect is arrested, there is a provided timeline within which the person should be investigated and released on bail or charged to court.
We've seen a lot, massive number of people through the social media actually, who have been, especially youths, who has been wrongfully profiled and arrested and tortured, and some of them dead. As a lawyer, what is the legal implications for this act? What should an individual do when he or she has been wrongfully profiled against the police officer? What should be the legal action the person should take?
In situations like this, you can actually file an action in court against the police or any other person or any security agency that's involved. You are guaranteed by section 35 of the Constitution of your right to privacy. So if your right to privacy is violated, you can actually take up an action for enforcement of that fundamental human right. And
the right to privacy also includes the fact that an arrest is not supposed to be made until a suspect is found guilty. Is that it? Or is it supposed to, when you talked about inviting him into when the police invite, they have the right to invite? Or do they have the right to also arrest when a suspect has not been found guilty?
You know, the thing is the court that found someone guilty, not the police.
Okay.
So ordinarily what the police does is to arrest you and investigate you. and then pending on the outcome of the investigation.
So can they hold you back in the cell for a very long time?
No.
So you have the right to leave.
The Constitution, Section 36, right to liberty.
Okay.
It provides that I think it's Section 35 actually. Subsection 5 provides that if you are arrested for any reason, except for a criminal capital offense, you are supposed to be charged to court within 24 hours or 48 hours, pending on the distance of court from the police station. So anything aside of that is a clear violation of the Constitution.
So what does the person need to do when these things have been violated? Is just to go to a lawyer or to demand that he leaves? What do you think the person?
The truth is, once you are arrested, you're entitled to bail. You can demand for your bail. When it is refused on frivolous ground for no reason, you can engage a lawyer and file an action for enforcement of fundamental human rights. And once that is done, almost in all cases, so long as it's not a capital offense, the court grants the release, and such a person is released.
Since profiling is an integral part of the police investigation, do you think that this act of wrongfully profiling Nigerians and treating them terribly, because it seems as if our structure or our judiciary is not as strong as developed nations, where when you file for a thing, it's gotten done. Do you think wrongful profiling in Nigeria can ever stop, since this is actually the right way for them to get their criminal investigations done? Do you think it will ever phase out in Nigeria?
I believe with time, there are so many things we are not getting right now, that with time and the right laws, definitely we'll get over them. And one of them is police brutality, wrongful profiling. And also, there is also another arm to this, which is arresting people for contracts and civil wrongs.
Okay.
You can actually arrest only for crimes. You can arrest for breach of contract, you can arrest for civil wrongs. But what you see most of the time is a percentage of people that are arrested and kept in police stations are people who probably they are owing someone they couldn't pay, or people who are owing rent they can't pay, or people who have entered into one kind of contract or the other and they are in breach of the contract, or probably people who have entered into any civil transaction and they couldn't keep one end or the other. You see police coming in, people engage police as a means of recovering them. So a whole lot of these things with time and the right law, and also when you have proper leadership at the helm of affairs of the police, most of these issues would naturally die off.
Okay, we are already rounding up. I just want you to educate Nigerians, because if you know your rights, you will know what to do. I want you to educate Nigerians on their rights, just in a summary form. Tell us about our rights when we are wrongfully arrested by the people, what we should do, our first call of action. Should we keep quiet? Should we call our lawyer? Should we say we are on bail? What do we do when we are wrongfully profiled and arrested and kept by the police?
When someone is wrongfully arrested, profiled, or harassed, the first thing to do is to demand for your right to bail.
Okay.
When that fails, you engage a lawyer. However, if you look at the situation of things in the country, probably a number of persons that fall victims to all this may not even have access to lawyers. But the Nigerian Bar Association, they have human rights committee that you can always reach out to. The Legal Aid Council also, they have free lawyers who handle some of these issues. So anytime one has legal issues, the best and the first call should be to reach out to a lawyer, whether at your own cost or through these organizations. And you'll be surprised that there are a whole lot of lawyers there who are willing to assist. We have human rights lawyers who are ready at any time to come to your aid. Only reach out to them and the needful will be done.
Thank you very much, Barrister Prince Amiti. I'm
Thank
super
you.
excited to have had him. If you are wrongfully profiled, that is your right. Except you're caught or you've been found guilty by the court of law, you have the right to assess a lawyer. And if you don't have money for the lawyer, like he said, there are human rights lawyers who are willing to fight for your case and get justice. I am Olachi Anyukwa, and this is Seven Legal. I'll come to you next week with an interesting episode. See you next week.